It is 7 o'clock, Jim.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Council Waterman, before you get started, just two quick housekeeping things.
Absolutely.
One is thank you to Vice President Jackson for covering for me last week while I was away. Had a great time away. Good to be back. Thank you for doing that. Second is I, about 15 or 20 minutes ago, sent you all some potential amendments that will likely be presented this evening to the Ordinances Committee. If you don't have access to your computer, they will be read this evening, but just so you know, there are some amendments. Please do not reply all to that email. If you want to reply to me, by all means you can, but please do not reply all to that. But I wanted you all to at least have access to it for the discussion tonight. More to come on that. And at 7:30, I am jumping off, but I will be coming back on. But I wanted to let you know that I sent that email in case that dialogue happens in my absence. So with that, Council Waterman, it's all you.
Thank you. At 7:01, I would call the Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee to order. And to begin with, we have three people, I believe, that are waiting to meet with us tonight. And we will begin with, is Jessica Reagan Salzman on the line, Jim?
She is, and she's being brought into the meeting.
Thank you very much. Jessica, there you are down there. How are you? You're
great. How are you?
Good. I didn't know if you were muted. I hear you now. Good evening. We thank you very much for your interest in serving the city of Attleboro. And you have been sent to us with your interest in the Council on Human Rights.
Volume down, did you by any chance?
And
I don't know how.
the entire council is here. And our committee is here as well. Personnel, Veterans, Human Services Committee. So Jess, I wondered if you would like to share with us a little bit about yourself to begin with, and then later you can tell us why you are interested in this particular committee.
Sure. So my name is Jessica Reagan Salzman, and I've lived in Attleboro since the summer of 2009. And I run a business with my husband called Heart-Based Bookkeeping. We work with small business owners who love what they do, but can't keep up with managing the numbers side of their business. And we have clients located all over the country and actually in other countries as well. We work virtually, so we've been able to help small business owners in all geographical locations. And it's a wonderful business. Thankfully, we've been very blessed during the pandemic to be able to keep working from home, which has really been a blessing.
And 1 second, when your address is?
940 West Street.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And my interest in joining the Council on Human Rights, ever since I was in high school, I've been very actively involved in all different pursuits to ensure that people are treated fairly and equitably. Recently, I have spent the past couple of years working on immigration reform and private detention reform in Rhode Island. And when I came across the opportunity that Mayor Hero had posted about these councils, when I saw there was a Council on Human Rights, I thought, wow, that is right up my alley and would fit in with the work that I've been doing in Rhode Island. And it's just so exciting to have the opportunity to do more of that work right here at home in Attleboro.
Well, that's terrific. Is there anybody who would like to ask any questions or speak with Jess? Thank you, Councilor DeSimone.
Hey, thank you, Councilor Waterman. Jess, my name is Kathleen DeSimone. It's a pleasure to meet you. I want to say a couple of things. First, your letter in which you express your interest in serving is one of the most thoughtful and passionate applications I've seen, and I commend you on that. And I particularly like your second sentence where you said, "My passion in life is choosing love." Perfect. Based upon what I've read in the letter, I cannot imagine a better candidate for the job. And I want to say I've been working a lot this year on an effort called Neighbors in Dialogue, with the Attleboro Public Library. So for that reason and others, I'm keenly aware of the import of the work that the Council on Human Rights does. And I thank you for your willingness to serve and bringing your expertise and your clear and longstanding commitment to the cause. Jess, I look forward to work with you. Welcome and congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you so much. I look forward to
Sure.
working with you too. I so appreciate that.
Is there anybody else who is interested in saying anything? Councilor Jackson, thank you.
Thank you, Council Waterman. Jess, I'm just going to say ditto to what Ladisa Moon said. This is well written.
Oh, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
well
so
written.
much.
Thank you for volunteering.
Definitely. I look forward to working with everyone. Thank you.
I should say that your quote of Martin Luther King, which I had not heard before, is fascinating. We want all our rights. We want them here and we want them now. So thank you very much. And we'll be bringing you up in our committee meeting in a few minutes.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Welcome. And is Jennifer Keating Roca on the line? Jim.
Yep, she's coming in right now.
Great.
Hi,
Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? It's nice to see you,
Good.
sort of.
So you are meeting with all the city council right here, and with the committee that I am a chair of, Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services. And Jen, if you could give us your address, tell us a little bit about yourself, and about what you've already been doing in Attleboro.
Okay. My address is 2 Benefit Street in Attleboro, right near downtown. And so, yes, my name is Jennifer Roca. I've been living in Attleboro for about 20 years. So I grew up in Worcester, and I was part of a large community theater company. I started teaching when I was 15 and eventually went to New York. That really fast forwarded right there. Went to New York, worked on Broadway for a few years, moved home shortly after 9/11, and moved to Attleboro in 2002. That was my life right there. Once I settled down to raise a family, it became clear that it was really difficult to maintain teaching and directing theater and raising a family because rehearsals are nights and weekends, as Ty would know. Mr. Waterman, I'm sorry. But then someone introduced me to the homeschool community. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but there is a thriving homeschool community in Attleboro. Attleboro is actually a central hub. This is before COVID. There's so many co-ops and schools, but they didn't have, well, schools, not schools. They didn't have a theater program. And I was asked to teach. And next thing you know, I'm starting my own nonprofit theater company right here in Attleboro to serve this need for the arts in the homeschool community. I did ask if I could show a few pictures to better give you a sense. I have like a little 1 minute, I timed it 2 minutes if I talk too much, little presentation with some pictures if you'd like to see what we have been doing the past 9 years right here in Attleboro, or not.
You go ahead, but one thing I should say, and I didn't mention it, and it's no surprise to anybody, I'm sure, but you're interested in the Cultural Council.
Oh, yes.
We thank you for that. You have a picture or two to show us.
I do. Let me just,
Let's hope we can work that out.
let's hope we can. So this is our little logo. We used to be called the Work in Progress Productions, actually up until last year. That's because I literally wasn't sure what to name it. So we are Illuminate right now, and that's to stay. So we started out with about 15 kids, and we didn't have any stage. We were performing on little church platforms, whoever would let us. This was the first couple of months. And then an audience member saw us performing and said, hey, I know this theater in Pawtucket that you guys could use. It's Tolman High School. They don't use it. So we started working with Tolman, and we started with, there you go, 15 kids, no set. 2014, we've got more kids, more set. And by the time we were in our third year, we now had Tolman students on the stage with us, and we were doing workshops with them and the community down there. So then we also had a huge, I had a couple of people from Attleboro actually, who happened to have their degree in technical theater. They joined the team, and next thing you know, we're flying kids, and our shows really skyrocketed. We had about 500 people at each performance. And this one we had, it's snow on the audience. That was a lot of fun. And we built bigger and bigger sets. For Newsies, we had these bridges that were choreographed with the kids. They're jumping on and off of them, singing and dancing. And last year, this is right before COVID, we did this amazing production of Beauty and the Beast. These are all original costumes made by a friend of mine here in Attleboro. And we had a huge cast, maybe, I think we had 50 kids. We had confetti cannons going off over the audience. They loved that. And we flew the Beast for him to transform. We also have classes in all areas of the arts. So everything from costume design, set design, classes for ages 4 to 18, you name it, we offer it. And a lot of the people that are teaching are professionals in their field. We have an internship program. We have students that are teaching the younger classes, and we have some outreach teams. This one here, Salt and Light, and you'll see 2020. That picture was taken 2 weeks before COVID, before the lockdown. They actually go to schools. Since they're homeschool kids, they can go into schools during school hours and do like school assemblies and workshops. And we do programs in like anti-bullying, social media awareness, using music and drama. So then COVID came along. We, of course, had to decide, are we going to fold? Are we going to cancel? Are we going to not do anything? Or do we think we can carve a path through this? So we decided to follow the guidelines as closely as we could. And we put on a production of The Wizard of Oz that was live streamed. We had to use a different stage because Tolman was closed for the year. We had smaller casts. I actually had my stage manager went through COVID safety training with the CDC, and we implemented the strictest measures. And I can't even believe we did this, but you can see we built masks into the costumes. There's the filmmaker right on stage with them. And yes, we had a real dog for Toto. That's the most important part. And you can see they're all spread out. We went into this completely aware that we might not even be able to pull it off. It might get canceled. We were really nervous about it, but I'm so happy to say that it went off without a hitch. And yeah, we have a digital download available starting next week, actually. So that, I think I have one more picture. This is us right now. We're offering a few classes. They're small, really small class sizes because of COVID. And thankfully, the Attleboro Community Theater has offered their stage for us to do. We have 2 little presentations next month, actually, that will be live streamed. And that is everything. And I will stop sharing now.
Well, thank you. And I was going to ask you, will you ever be performing in Attleboro? And it seems like you hope to be doing so.
Yeah, it's interesting because the COVID kind of forced us, it just kind of made us think outside the box and outside the stage. And all of a sudden we're building roots now more in Attleboro. And I'm like, how did we not do this all these 8 years? So.
Well, we want you. So please, Councillor Conti.
So Jen, I want to thank you for expressing an interest in the Arts Council. I was on the Arts Council for 3 years, very early in my political career in Attleboro, and there isn't an artistic bone in my body. And unfortunately, all the people that were serving with me at the time, none of them were artists. And the Arts Council gives to Attleboro in the neighborhood of $17,000 a year to be distributed as grants. And it's a light load because they only meet once or twice a year, and it's right at the same time of the year. So it really won't take up a lot of your time. But I think you bring a lot to the council, and I'm really happy that you decided to do this, and you have my full support. Thank you, Mr. Waterman.
Okay. Councilor DeSimone.
Thank you, Council Waterman. Jen, yes, so happy to have you. Awesome. I want to see outdoor theater this summer, COVID friendly. You know, Shakespeare in the Round, you've got Highland Park. So welcome, congratulations. I think we're lucky to have you, and I'm super excited to see what you're going to see, girl. This is awesome. Congratulations and good luck.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands, but thank you very much, Jen. And we will be in touch. We'll be talking about you in committee in a few minutes, and the entire council next week. And I'll let you know.
All right. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. And finally, live tonight, we have Leanne below. Is she on? Jim, does Leanne?
Yep, she's coming in now.
Great, thank you. Leanne, we see
Yes,
you.
I'm trying to get things turned on.
Okay, I see your name.
Hi.
Hi there.
Yeah, try and turn video on, but it's not working, is it? I set it up beforehand, so it's supposed to be working.
Well, if it doesn't, we can all hear you very well, I think.
Well, that's good.
So Leanne comes to us with an interest in the Disability Commission. And she's had a fair amount of experience in that world. Leanne, can you, first of all, your address, please? There you are.
Hi. My address is 708 Newport Avenue.
Thank you. And tell us a little bit about yourself, and that'll lead right into why disabilities and why the Disability Commission interests you.
Okay. I wasn't sure what to do for tonight or how much time I was even supposed to speak.
Couple minutes.
But basically, my name is Leanne Bollier, and I'm not picky about pronouns. I'm proud to be a survivor for the last 65 years, and I just celebrated 2 days ago. I'm a writer and an artist. I've graduated summa cum laude from UMass, Dartmouth. I grew up in a home with chronic illness, which awarded me the dubious label of complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm also known as a highly sensitive person. I suffer from chronic pain, which is mostly referred to as a hidden disability, meaning that's not obvious to the general population. I had thought about sharing one of my pieces with you tonight. I have a couple of things that I've written about disabilities and having grown up with it and what it's like. I once wrote a piece called "My Disabilities Are Normal to Me," which is a byproduct of many conversations between my brother and I on the topic of being disabled and what do disabled people really want in their life. And we kind of decided over the years that most of them seem to want the same thing that everybody else does, a way to contribute to their community in a meaningful and edifying way that promotes less labels and more appreciation for individuals' unique abilities. And so I've lived here all my life. My brother was taken care of by people in the community. And we had a lot of support when we were going through difficulties, and I raised my children here. So I'm grateful for the opportunity as a disabled person to give something back, to have work to do, to contribute. It's exciting for me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate everything you shared, and you're going to be on an exciting commission to work with. They're very active. And right now, you may or may not know, but we're looking at every public building in the city in terms of how we make them disabled friendly, if that's the way to say it. So is there any questions at all for Leanne? Kathleen?
Yes, I'll go 3 for 3 on the
3.
on the volunteers. Leanne, welcome, congratulations. What you just said extemporaneously, it seemed,
Yep.
was beautiful and perfect. And I wish you well and congratulations on serving on the Disabilities Commission.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Great. Councilor Connie, you've got a thumbs up anyways there.
I just want to say to ditto. Kathleen's right on the money. And boy, Council Waterman, you got 2 for 2 tonight. Really strong. That's really great. That concludes my comments.
3 for 3, I think. So, so thank you very much, and we will be getting back to you. The council will meet next week in total, even though they're all here in front with we have our committee meetings this evening. And hopefully at this point next week, I'll get back to you and let you know how it goes.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
So I would like to begin this evening by entertaining a motion to approve the confirmation by your honorable body here, the following reappointments for the positions and terms, 2 people, Ian Daly, Constable, term of 1 year, February 2022, and Jason Gittle, Planning Board, a 5-year term expiring February of 2026.
Second.
Thank you very much. Is there, are there any questions or discussion? Okay, not seeing any. I would call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The vote passes 3-0. Thank you. And second, I would entertain a motion to approve the confirmation of Jessica Reagan Salzman, the first person we met tonight at 940 West Street, Attleboro, to fill an unexpired term on the Council on Human Rights, term to expire February of 2023.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Passes 3-0. And our theater gem here, I entertain a motion. This is all from the docket of March 2nd, 2021. I entertain a motion to approve the confirmation by your honorable body of the appointment of Jennifer Keating Roca from 2 Benefit Street to fill an expired term in the Cultural Council, term to expire February 2024.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Vote passes unanimously. And from the docket of March 2nd, 2021, this person I was unable to reach. I entertain a motion to approve the confirmation by your honorable body, the appointment of Joshua George of 1161B Oak Hill Avenue to fill an expired term as a constable, term to expire February of 2022.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Vote passes 3-0. And finally, from the docket of March 2nd, 2021, I entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Leanne Bulow, 708 Newport Avenue, to fill an expired term on the Disability Commission, term to expire February of 2024.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
The vote passes 3-0. I would call for an adjournment.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Thank you. And that concludes the business of the Personnel, Veterans, and Human Services Committee tonight. We'll call for a meeting at the next appropriate time. Thank you.
Public Safety and Emergency Management is canceled this evening.
Transportation and Traffic is also canceled this evening.
So I'd like to call the Capital Improvements and City Development Council to order at 7:26. Sitting on this committee are Dolan and Waterman. Let me just get my papers in order here. I've got 3 guests tonight, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get through the motions first. And the first motion I want to discuss, I've got Courtney standing by, Jim. So let me get the motion on the floor, and then if there's questions from the committee, we can bring Courtney into the committee meeting. So from the docket of March 2nd, 2021, I entertain a motion to appropriate $118,700 from account 61000-359000 Water Enterprise Retained Earnings to fund 3313 SCADA, that's SCADA, to fund the upgrade of security for the city water supply.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Waterman. So you read last week in the notes that accompany the mayor's communication. Do the committee members or any councilors have any questions about this upgrade? Well, that's easy. Seeing none.
Well, let me ask
Go ahead.
Councilor Conti, I understand that there have been a couple of instances in this country where the SCADA at water departments have been compromised.
Correct. There's been 2 that we know of that are in systems exactly like ours. I forgot that, Council Waterman, that this system was so old. This system was put in. We used to have an analog water system. The whole plant was analog, dials. And in 2013-14, we converted all that analog equipment into digital equipment. And that's the SCADA system. And I didn't realize it was that old when I was talking to Courtney this week, but it is similar to 2 systems that have been breached already, and our water supply is very important. So I'd like to see the council support this measure. And if there's additional, I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to compromise any of the system, but I wanted Courtney to by in case you asked me a technical question that I couldn't answer. But did I answer your question, Councilor Waterman?
Yes, I mean, it's a real concern.
Yes.
Yeah.
Councilor Kobus.
So when I saw this come down last week, my question was, why isn't this an emergency measure? And so aside from that, is there anything that can be said about, like, are there security measures in place to prevent what we saw happen down in Florida from happening here? Because I know in Florida they saw the mouse moving around on the screen and they were able to pick up on it. But is there, and I don't need details, but are there measures in place to prevent this from happening here in Attleboro?
That's a question I cannot answer, so I'm going to ask Jim to bring Courtney onto the floor. Courtney, perhaps you could answer that question.
Hi, good evening. Yes, I can. The system in Florida is very similar to what we have for our own plants. We would see a mouse moving potentially. Now, what happened in Florida is the operator was looking at the screen and happened to see a chemical adjustment. The operators don't spend 24 hours a day staring at the screen. Obviously, they have duties that they have to perform out and about in the plant. So we would be able to see a mouse moving. We would be able to see, we do operate off of TeamViewer. So we would be able to see someone from the outside log in. The concern is someone can do something like this so quickly that they're logged in and then they're logged back out in 2 minutes. So if you're looking away from that screen, you might not ever know that they were there. This was a chem adjustment, which obviously we pay attention to. We would see it. Depending what they did, if they downloaded something, that might take a little bit more time for the operators to catch on if something had actually happened.
So did you say this is just a simple TeamViewer connection? That's all you're using for remote connections? Is that true?
Yeah, for ourselves and for our, we work with Woodard and Curran for SCADA support. So any tech support, anything with, configurations, things like that. If they're not on site, is TeamViewer, and especially right now with COVID, it's especially TeamViewer. That's not actually the connection between the two plants. The connection between the two plants is through a secure VPN tunnel, but it's secure to 2013.
Okay. So in order to mitigate potential risk, have you considered something like just disabling TeamViewer remote connections, except for when except for periods where you would actually need that connection? Do you leave it, is it open like all day?
It typically is. However, even if we take and log out of the TeamViewer, take the TeamViewer out of the equation, the two plants still talk to each other, for lack of a better word, over the internet. We still...
Through a secure VPN connection.
Right. We still see part of the proposed upgrade is encryption of the radio connections, and we actually see the remote sites off of radio. So even taking the TeamViewer out of the equation, there is still security issues because, again, secure to 2013.
But it was TeamViewer was the avenue of attack down in Florida, correct?
For the one in Florida, yes, it was. There was another case, and it was an unnamed facility. It was in the Midwest. And this was last September or October. And basically, someone got into their system. It wasn't a TeamViewer situation. It was just an internet situation, and ransomed 100 of their servers. Unnamed facility again, but I mean a facility, a department that big got hit. This actually happened in New Bedford about a year ago as well.
So the question of, has anything been done in the near term to mitigate the potential risk? Is there anything that's been done now until the system's upgraded?
This is basically what we can do now with what we have out in the plants.
Well, TeamViewer is a third-party software. You could just disable that, uninstall it.
Right. Right, but that's not actually the biggest part of this. The TeamViewer portion of it is actually a very small one, and again.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions on the motion for 118,000? Yes, Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, Councilor Conti. It's actually not even a question, it's just a statement. I got lost in this conversation.
Sure.
Both Councilor Kobus and Superintendent Punchell, that went over my head just a little bit too much with all from the same level. As far as I'm concerned, when they were talking about everything that's going on with this. Yes.
That's why she's here, Councilor Jackson.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the SCADA system? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Courtney, if you just hang on 1 minute, we're going to talk about a pickup truck.
Sure.
Let me find it. Here it is. From the docket of March 2nd, 2021, I entertain a motion to appropriate $31,286 from account 6100-359-000 Water Enterprise Retained Earnings to account 6100-587044 Water Enterprise Fund Replacement Truck for the purchase of a new Ford Ranger 4x4 Super Cab with a 6-foot bed and a toolbox.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Dolan. So, Courtney, not all of us were able to tour the water department when Councilor Delicio and Councilor Jackson and others were able to. Could you just give us a brief update of the status of your vehicle fleet?
Okay, this particular one, for those counselors that came out for the site visit to look at the vehicles that particular day, the vehicle that's currently off the road is the very first one that we looked at, and that's the meter repairman van. It's the one with all the racks in the back, where you lifted the mat and you could see directly through the floor to the ground. So it's parked. It didn't pass inspection. To get it to pass inspection, we have an estimate of just under $7,700, and that's body work. And that's just to get it back on the road. And it's a 2009, it's an E250. It's got, I'm sorry, it's a 2008, has 136,000 miles. When we have these vehicles, it's not like your normal 136,000 miles. They idle a lot. It's a lot of stop and go. It's a lot harder than you would drive it in your personal life. So the meter repairman needs a van. So we had to move all of his supplies, all of his racks into the only other van that we have. And the Ranger that's requested is actually on the CIP for next year to replace the backflow van. So they kind of got swapped. So right now our backflow tester is driving around in whatever he can get that's spare that can fit his equipment. The rest of the fleet, we still have 3 other vehicles parked. One that won't run and 2 more that won't pass inspection. And everything is on back order. There was 1 truck approved, I believe in May or June. It's still on order. So they're taking forever. So again, we have staff sharing cars, sharing trucks. If we actually lose another one off the fleet, at this point, we're gonna have to start borrowing from another department to keep everybody out on the road. And that's the state of the fleet right now.
Thank you. Committee members, councilors, does anyone have any questions about the pickup truck purchase? Seeing none, Council Blair.
Courtney, what truck is that replacing again?
It's replacing, it's a 2008 E250 van.
Was that currently the meter truck?
It was currently the meter repairman van, and the meter repairman is currently using the backflow van.
That was a van that was all rotted out and the fumes were coming up through it?
Yes, it was that one. They were both on the CIP for next year, and this is the first one to go.
Okay, and that Ranger is going to suffice for him?
Actually, it's not. The Ranger is going to go to the backflow tester. The meter repairman's going to continue with this van, with the backflow van, which was on the CIP for next year. So there'll be a request for the other van the next year, and that one will be a direct replace with another van.
Is that truck past inspection?
The one that we switched him into, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions on the pickup truck? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Council Waterman, is that a yes?
Yeah, I said yes.
Thank you. Motion passes unanimously. I've got two more motions for the water department that I think are pretty simple, but Courtney, you're welcome to hang on for just a moment. From the docket of March 2nd, 2021, I entertain a motion to transfer $28,395.25 from account 6100-538-053 Water Enterprise Fund Trench Repair to account 6100-599-000 Water Enterprise Fund Other Financing Sources to move funds for the permanent paving of Franklin Street.
Second.
Both second.
Thank you. This is a transfer that's going to also involve another transfer so that the repaving of the street that they dug up for the water repair can be repaved. Does anyone have any questions about the transfer? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. From the docket of March 2nd, 2021, I entertain a motion to transfer $28,395.25 from account 6100-599-000 Water Enterprise Fund Other Financing Sources to fund 3335 Franklin Street Water Main for permanent paving of Franklin Street from the December 2019 water main replacement work.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Dolan. And so this is more of the same, just to get the job finished up through a capital project. Any questions?
No.
Councilor Dolan.
So what did they just split it in half?
What they did is they took money that was left over from a project and moved it from a trench repair project into other financing sources, and then from other financing sources into the Franklin Street Water Main Fund to be able to pay for the paving.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Courtney, for your information. I appreciate it. Next from the
Thank
docket.
you.
Thank you. Next from the docket of February 2nd, 2021, I move to strike a communication from Edward Bailey of Attleboro with questions on the tax break for potential new downtown business.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Waterman. The reason why I'm striking this is because the mayor addressed this personally, and next time I meet with him, I'll tell him that if he doesn't want councilors to interfere in his administration, he shouldn't be interfering with our information. So, are there any questions about the striking? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Finally, I've invited Mike Tyler to join us, and Jim, if you would let him in the capital improvement. This is going to be quick because in the capital improvement plan on the urgent projects, the Department of Public Works has 4 projects that are urgent. One is to replace the Handy Street Culvert Phase 2. One is to replace the Peters Avis Bridge Phase 1. And one is to replace the traffic signal improvement at County Square and Rapid Willard, all of which are likely to be a grant. And Mike is here to explain the potential and the possibility and where that grant is coming from. And the 4th item is to replace the Peters Avis Bridge Phase 1. It's $990,000, and he's planning on using Chapter $90 to do that. And we've had a discussion about that. So I've asked Mike to come to the meeting and just address these 4 issues for us. Mike, welcome.
Thank you, Richard Conte. Appreciate the welcome.
What can you tell us about the grants?
Sure. So you want to start off with the Handy Street culvert first?
Sure.
Sure. So a little background on the Handy Street culvert. Actually, both of these projects have a long history about them. They've been on the capital improvement plan for quite a number of years. The Handy Street culvert, with all the information been able to get on this project, this started in 2001. There was a phone call from somebody made to the Army Corps of Engineers about water being built up on the inlet side of Handy Street. they came down and did an inspection on this. They were under the impression that the culvert was replaced by the city at some point, possibly when they replaced the water main on the road. After that was during Judy Robbins' time. Judy Robbins asked the Conservation and Public Works to look into that. Their comeback was that culvert was not replaced. There was a substantial clean out done by Bristol County Mosquito Control that they felt led to the elevation changes and that water being held back. So it's gone back and forth for quite a few years. So in looking at it and at the prices and going out to engineering companies and talking to them, they come up with the price of like $175,000. I have a lot of experience in this stuff. My department has a lot of experience in drainage. We kind of feel that we might be able to pull this one now and do something in-house with a substantial savings. We could probably, I'm figuring we could probably do this job for probably under $50,000 if we have Conservation's blessing. Now that we've came to the conclusion that it seems to be more of a little misunderstanding. It wasn't a replaced culvert. The culvert that's there right now is damaged. It does need to be replaced, but we had to make sure that the reason for replacing it became a priority because we have a lot of these areas in the city. So to bring it up to the top of the priority list, there had to be justifiable reason. So I think holding that water back is a justifiable reason, but I think we could do it in-house with the Conservation's approval to do so now that we have the mitigating background information on it. So
Mike, was I misled? Is there no grant for this project?
Well, there's some grants for these, but not many on this type of handy street because a lot of the grants that they're looking for are either on the 10-mile river, the 7-mile river, or Chartley Brook. Those are three big areas in the city where they're looking to give grants out, whether or not because of small animal crossings or climate change and all those areas. So this one would not be a strong one on it.
So do you think that you're going to need like $50,000 to pay for overtime or materials or to get the project done?
I believe so. Now that we've gotten all the information on this, I say this goes back to City Solicitor John Lee, if you remember. That was quite a few years ago. So there's a lot of information now that we've been able to put together, and after getting the estimates for the engineering on all that, I just can't justify it in this case. I think we can do it a lot cheaper in-house, as long as, again, we just have to have Conservation's blessing on this. So again, I think they're going to pull this one off of here and reprioritize it.
So we talked about the Peters Avenue Bridge, and you said that that's now on a 3-ton limit.
Yeah, Peters Avenue Bridge is another. It's one of those what they call the gift that keeps giving. Peters Avenue Bridge was privately owned in 1998 by a company called Land Bridge Incorporated. When they dissolved the corporation in 1988, they actually gifted the bridge in the adjoining property to the city of Attleboro. They did so because there was concerns about the safety of the bridge at the time. When the city reached out to the private owner of the bridge about having some safety inspections done to that bridge, I think they decided that would be easier for them to gift the bridge on the adjoining land to the city of Attleboro. And the reason I think the city of Attleboro actually took that upon is Mass DOT will do inspections for us of culverts and bridges if we request them so, but only if the city owns them. They will not do a privately owned. So once the city did take ownership of it, or gifted, I should say, Mass DOT did stop performing bridge inspections on there. Through the years, it just deteriorated a lot more. There was, as you all probably know, in that area, there used to really be only one family down there, the Peters family. They had a pretty good sized construction company. In the meantime, a lot of homes were built in that back area. So that probably helped the deterioration on that bridge. I think it was in 2009, if I got my story right, that the decking on the bridge was deemed unsafe by Mass DOT. That was replaced in-house by the Public Works Department. And that kind of held until this September. So the rate of that bridge, as it was before September, was 8-ton single axle. Mass DOT went out there, did another inspection of the bridge. They found a lot more things deficiency in that bridge. They deemed us to lower that to 3-ton per axle. So just to give a brief description of what 3 tons looks like, that's the weight of about a regular sized pickup truck. So as you can imagine, that's not a very good sign, because the houses in the back, they depend upon much more bigger vehicles from time to time for deliveries than 3 ton. So that's what kind of pushed this job up.
And in this case, again, the grant is probably not going to be applied to this project.
No, we're hoping at this point there's 2 things that we have to do. So we did put out for engineering. The mayor approved it. It was 173,000, I believe. So what the engineering company is going to do is they are going to provide us with a set of plans how to do a temporary repair to this bridge to get it back up to an 8-ton limit. And then they are going to do all the work and design of a permanent bridge. So we're hoping to get the temporary repairs will be done in-house by the Public Works Department. We feel that we do have the manpower to do it, the knowledge to do that, to get it back to where it belongs for the time being. Once we have the plans in place of what the permanent bridge structure is going to look like, I think we'll have a very good shot having shovel-ready plans in hand, especially that bridge sits on the 7 Mile River. So that's a very key aspect of the funding group that's available out there. So I think hopefully there's only one problem with this whole project. That bridge is the only way over, the only way out for all the residents in that area. There is not a secondary means of egress. So that's kind of a problem. When we go to make these temporary repairs, we're actually under the gun where we actually have to get them done within a day, hopefully. We have to work with the police and fire department to make sure they have some type of services on the other side of that bridge at that time. Almost the same thing like we had to do on Wilmot Street, which was out for quite a long time. But we have to make sure that we have emergency personnel on the other side of the bridge for, Lord forbid, if something were to happen and they had an emergency on that side of the bridge. So it's very concerning. There's a lot of moving parts to it. We have to make sure we're ready to do it, it's done correctly. But I do feel that once we have the final plans for what the final bridge is going to look like, I think we'll look really good for a grant for this one. And it'll be expensive. There's no doubt about that. You're probably talking anywhere between $500,000 and $600,000.
So replacing it, you had budgeted 990,000.
I'm sorry, what was that?
You had budgeted 990,000 in the plan.
Yes, well, that's because don't forget the first part we're spending right now is 100 and something. So by the time we're done, we're going to be up around that.
Okay.
See, and I will add to this, if anybody knows this bridge at all, and I'm sorry, I wish I could have had a picture for you. It's a single car bridge. It's probably only 11 feet wide. The plan will be to, once we do the temporary repairs to this one, is to build almost a double bridge. So we'll be building one that's 12 feet wide. And once we have that one open, we'll build the other 12 feet and connect them together. So it's more 24 feet. So 2 cars will pass it. So it'll be a huge improvement for the area. But I think it's probably something that should have been thought about many years ago before they allowed all that development in there.
So we should be thinking about Peters Avenue Phase 1 and Phase 2 together, because it's a very short time period. And if we can't just budget one, we've got to budget them both to get it done.
Yes, I would say.
And it's got to happen this year. So we're going to consider that like as one project. And let's move on to the third one, the traffic signal improvement at County Square. I don't think you'll be doing that one in-house.
No, they should be concurrent with each other. They have to. We are looking at different avenues. We're trying to find land over there that possibly maybe we could make an access road for people to use for now. It's a lot of moving projects to this. It's unfortunate. It's in a landlocked area.
So you think there's a grant available for that project?
I'm almost positive we'll be able to get grant money to do that. Maybe not the 100% of it, but I'm pretty sure we'll get a pretty significant amount.
Excellent. Does anyone have any questions for the DPW superintendent? Okay, thank you, Mike. We're good. And thank you for appearing tonight. I really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Have a good night.
Next committee, I have Chief LaChance, who is standing by. And Jim, if you'd let him on board. The chief has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 urgent projects, ranging from a storage area for personnel protective gear, replacing the HVAC systems at both the Union Street and South Attleboro Fire Station, and replacing the front apron at Union Street, and replacing $21,000 worth of computers. So, Chief, which of these do you think is the most urgent of all urgents?
Good morning, good evening.
Welcome.
Can you hear me okay?
Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know if you have any audio, any video on me. I can't tell, but
we can hear you well. We can hear you
okay,
really
you
good.
can hear me. That's good enough. The front apron at headquarters is probably the highest priority of those that we're discussing tonight. That's been an ongoing problem for many years. That front apron, which is basically the driveway going up to the bays at headquarters, has been failing for many years. We've done a couple of repairs, probably 2 or 3 over the last 15 to 20 years. It's gotten to the point that even during the last snowstorm, DPW, when they were plowing the front apron, actually stopped and said that they were having problems plowing because the concrete's all cracked up. So the concern with that is that as it cracks, there's a catch basin at the end of the apron near the street, a drain. Our concern is that water is going to get underneath there, freeze, and the concern is that the trucks eventually may, hopefully it doesn't happen, but it could collapse the concrete and damage the vehicles. And we're talking about millions of dollars worth of vehicles. So we need to get that fixed as soon as we can. The price that we had for $20,000 was honestly just an estimate. I'm sure you're familiar with everything that we do. If we can't do it in-house, is done with prevailing wages. So it's pretty hard to get accurate pricing. But that $20,000 was an estimate a few years ago. With some help from DPW, they came and looked at it and gave us an idea of the ballpark pricing if they were able to provide some of the labor to do it. So it's something that now that we get into the spring, would be the best time to do it. We could leave the bays open. The trucks could even be parked outside if we need to for a day or two while the concrete's curing. So I would say that would be the first priority out of those 5 projects.
Moving on to the HVACs, have you looked at doing those together with one contractor?
No, we haven't. We looked at headquarters. Is kind of interesting because headquarters doesn't really have a true HVAC system. We have a couple of sections of the building that have air handlers, but the majority of the building is old window air conditioners. That creates problems for us. Obviously, with everything that we've dealt with over the last year with the pandemic and air quality and air handling, it's become a bigger concern. So it's definitely something that we need to look at. It's kind of a complicated project because there's also talk about a joint public safety feasibility study and a lot of those things. And you hate to spend a significant amount of money updating something at a fire station if the building's not going to be used in 5 years. But my own opinion is that I don't think it's very likely that we're going to get a new public safety complex, reasonably. I'd say 10 years we'll be lucky. So I do think that we need to look at doing something to headquarters to improve the HVAC system for that building. And South Attleboro is functional. It's just that it's 22 years old. We had one of the air conditioning units fail this summer. We were able to repair it, but once they pushed 20 years, we're trying to be proactive and get these things replaced before they fail, because when they do fail, it seems to always happen, when it's 95 degrees out on a Saturday, and then we have to, hustle to get contractors in and do things really quick. A lot of times we have to get it fixed and replaced, and then on Monday we have to ask the city auditor for, for an apology for us doing what we needed to do to get it fixed. So I would say that would be the next one in South Attleboro after headquarters.
Thank you. How is it that we've never had a storage area for our personal protection gear?
Well, one of the things is many years ago, we only had one set of gear for all the firefighters. I'm sure you remember, it's probably close to 10 years ago now, where I sat in front of the council and we came up with a plan to update all of our turnout gear. Actually, it was now retired. It was Captain Jackson that actually worked on getting all of that information for me to present to the council. So we updated all the turnout gear so firefighters had gear that was compliant with the code and safe to use. But the standards today is everybody should have 2 sets of gear. So if they're exposed at a fire, like right now, the companies are at a structure fire right now on Thatcher Street. So when they get back, they have to take all of that gear and decontaminate it. So now they have 2 sets of gear so that they can decontaminate one and put a second set on. It's exactly what they'll do when they get back tonight. They don't really have a place to store that gear. It was kind of, an afterthought when we were able to finally get 2 sets of gear. They do have lockers, but they don't really fit 2 sets. So one set's inside, one is kind of on top of it. And today's standards, all of that gear can off-gas contaminants from fires. So you're really not supposed to store it, without it being in a secure storage area with air circulation and all of that. So what we're looking at is updating the storage to all 4 stations. Again, recognizing that if we're going to do something at headquarters, in the future, that probably wouldn't be as important to do it at headquarters as it would be to the other stations, where we're expecting those stations are going to stay there for many years.
So are you thinking like building an addition onto the fire stations?
No, I don't think we need an addition. I think it would need an architect to come in and just kind of look at the space and see what we could do to, expand the spots that we're using for the lockers. Maybe go up, because the apparatus bays are tall. We might be able to put double tall lockers or double wide lockers. There's just spots in the basement. There's other areas. It's just they have to have certain air quality. You have to have some air circulation. So it would require somebody with a little bit more mechanical knowledge than we have in-house to tell us where the best spot is to put it.
And then moving right along, I only have one question left, and that is, how old are your computers?
Depends on the computers. Mine just got replaced about a month ago because it wasn't working so great. But we probably have about 30 desktop computers in the department. And I would say the majority of them are pushing 10 years old.
Are you thinking of replacing them with laptops?
No, the main computers at the stations that the guys use, the clerks, the secretaries, everything in the offices, those would be regular desktop computers.
Super.
We do have a few laptops so that a few of us can work. Like I'm on a laptop right now that I can use. I can actually connect to my desktop at the office, so I can work remotely if I have to, have full access to everything I would normally have. But the majority of the computers, we don't need that.
That's it for me. I saw Councilor Cobus first, then DeSimone, and then Delicio. So Councilor Cobus, you have the floor.
So I think it was listed as 21,000 for the computer replacements. And I know, Chief LaChance, we had talked in the past about, I think it's called Firehouse software as the software that you were looking for. Does that 21,000 include Firehouse software and all of that? So that
Firehouse software we actually use already. It's cloud-based. It has minimal need for the city's network, but it does use the internet, and it does have some small storage on the city's network. The software that you're talking about was a more robust software for inspections and permitting and all of that, and we haven't made any headway on that at all. We have no computers in any of the trucks either. Other than the ambulances, we don't have any computers in any of the vehicles.
In this 21,000 this is just replacing what we have.
This is just solving
bare bones.
Bare bones, just to get us back. It was in there last year, and it actually got cut from the budget. My budget request had that in there last year for computers, and it got cut.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor DeSimone, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Conti. Chief, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. So in the year that I've been on the council, I've yet to had the opportunity to tour any of your facilities. And in light of some of these requests, I'm wondering if that opportunity could present itself at some point. I know you're busy, but whoever you deem appropriate, I would appreciate the opportunity to see some of these things.
Sure, absolutely. I could certainly do that. To coordinate that, I would just ask you to go directly through me. Because we are still, we're dealing with COVID, so there'd have to be some precautions taken, but it would certainly be possible for us to ensure that a small group could get in there and take a tour.
Understood.
Anybody's welcome to. I just don't want to have, 12 people at the same time. So anybody who's interested certainly can accommodate that request.
Thank you, Chief LaChance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor DeSimone. Now, Councilor Delicio, you have the floor.
Thank you, Council Conti. Chief, always good to see you. So just want to build off of Council Cobus's question a little bit. I've been doing a lot of research on the city's IT as of late. And it's funny, you mentioned that you have a need for 30, or you have 30 desktops, but you're asking for 20. The other
Yep.
two you're not asking for, what's the status of those computers?
They're not as old as the other 20, so they're not as problematic.
Mhm.
I mean, 30 would certainly be a help. We have some offices that share computers, which in today's world of everything we do is not as effective as you would like it to be. But 20 we would suffice with. 30 would certainly be optimal.
Okay. And can I ask a follow-up, Council Conti?
Yes, floor's yours.
So Chief, how has COVID changed the use of technology going along that same line?
But that's a really good point. One of the things that we use that we had in the past is Zoom. The majority of the computers that we have, I mean, honestly, almost every single one in the department is not capable of a Zoom meeting because none of them have microphones and cameras.
Right.
So until I had my desktop updated, I had to use my personal computer for Zoom meetings. So I meet with chiefs all over the state, the county, and it's all done, by Zoom meetings. I was either using my own computer or a cell phone because I wasn't able to do it for my desktop. Now I can do it for my desktop, but the majority of the department cannot. So it's not really possible to have a face-to-face meeting with our command staff through Zoom. And those things definitely limit us.
And then just the final question I have for my own ignorance. You're now on the city network with everything else, right? So you don't have your own separate network?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And the reason I bring that up is I'd heard that, and thank you for the leeway, Council Conti, is next week I plan to bring out business for study and recommendation for the police and fire to have their own networks. Just, I think it cuts down on redundancy, and I think from a public safety perspective, I think it just makes sense to at least look into this on top of the IT study that I recommended a few weeks back. So thank you for the leeway, and thank you as always, Chief, and stay safe.
Counselor, if I could just add to that study, I welcome that. I think it's a really good idea. One of the things that we haven't been very good at previously is kind of thinking into the future. And it's been hard with budgets. I'm not certainly not blaming anybody, but we do have to start to look at these things, especially when we deal with things like pandemics and things that change how we operate. Most communities today have a communication network that utilizes a combination of fiber, microwaves, dishes, a whole host of things, multiple networks, combination generators, battery backups, all of these things, so that you have a system in place that you'd have to have 4 or 5 things fail simultaneously to lose the system. We're not there. I think that we've had some good conversations. I've spoken to Chief Hegney, had some good conversations with Bill Lennox and the mayor, who is supportive of it. But it's one of those things that, we don't really have people in-house that have the technical knowledge to really figure out what is it that we need to do. I know what some other communities have done, and I have some ideas of what we'd like to see get done. And I really welcome a study like that, where they could actually come in and say, one of the things that we do have that most communities do not is we have one of the best fiber optic networks around. If you talk to other communities, very few communities have such full fiber coverage that we do. So there are things that we can use to take advantage of that. And there's some other options we can do that I think would give us a state of the art infrastructure that would protect us long term.
And I think it would kind of help you as well, kind of bridge that gap before you have a public safety complex.
Yep, absolutely. It allows us to put buildings wherever we want them to be or wherever they need to be. And we already have the system in place to provide that technology.
Excellent. Thank you for that edification. I just was a little foggy on a couple things. Thank you.
Yep. No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you both. Any other questions for the chief? Seeing none, thank you very much, Chief, for being here tonight. I appreciate your time. It was a valuable conversation.
Thank you, Councilor. And if anybody wants to reach out to me to get a tour of any of the facilities, let me know and we'll accommodate that.
Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thanks. Have a great night.
You too. So, committee members, I'd initially thought that I would have Bill Lennox here this evening, and following a meeting with the mayor and with Bill Lennox that was about 45 minutes long. We went through and reviewed the new business that was in hand and the projects that he has underway already. And Bill and I made a decision that he would not be needed to appear in front of the committee at this time. As you know, the city hall will be closed to the public on March 2nd, and there's a major upgrade going on where he's going to install the switch that we bought for him in last year's capital improvement plan. That switch was on the plan as an urgent project for 2 years. It went from $98,000 to $116,000. It is the main connection to the world, and everything, the phones, the computers, everything has to be shut down, dead, to install that switch. So, so I'm going to just postpone the discussion on Lennox to carry along with that new business that is in my committee. And the whole thing needs to mature just a little bit more before we can discuss it publicly. And we'll probably do that at a later date. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Dolan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I declare the Capital Improvement City Development Committee adjourned at 8:12. That was fabulous. It was a 40 minutes. I thought it was going to be much worse. Thank you all.
And if I could, would you mind if I go next? I have a guest on
Not at all.
online. All right. So I call the Special Committee for Tax Abatement Review to order at 8:12. On the committee, it's myself and Councilor Delicio and Councilor Reynolds. Blair, sorry. Yep. And so, Councilor Delicio, do you mind taking notes?
Fine.
And I see that Representative Hawkins has been brought into the meeting. Thank you, Jim Jones. I just have one thing I want to briefly discuss tonight, and that's we received text from Representative Hawkins' office regarding the senior tax freeze, and I've sent that out through Virginia to the committee to review. And it just went out this morning, so my expectation is folks haven't had a chance to review that. But I wanted to take a minute to mention that that's there. And in 2 weeks, I'd like to review it in more detail. So just want you to be ready for that. Also, I'll be sending that to the city assessor to look at it. And there's a number of variables within it for us to look at and adjust when talking about a tax freeze. There's the age of the person, the income, how long they've been a resident of the city, and their home values, as well as we have two aspects that we can look at whether or not we want to freeze the assessed value of the home or if we want to freeze the tax rate. And those are all questions that I'll have for the assessor. I'll be sending those, and any responses I get, I will share with the committee. Additionally, the questions that I'll have for the assessor is the impacts of the budget, the maintainability of the program, as well as estimates for a couple of different variable options, so we can potentially look at a few different options when looking at this. Also, you'll note that when you review this, there isn't specific language for there's language about residency within the city. They have to be a resident for 10 years, and that number is a variable, but there isn't anything to say if the individual moves into a nursing home, what the impact is. So I'll still be working with Representative Hawkins' office to make sure that we have language in there such that if an individual is part of this program and they move into a nursing home or long-term care facility, that they don't all of a sudden fall out of this program. So I'd like to first recognize Representative Hawkins first of all, thank you for doing the hard work of putting this together, and give you a chance to say anything about this in general. And my expectation is we'll have you back for additional questions as we have them, but I wanted to give you a second to talk about this if you'd like.
Thank you. This is actually it's a bill that I filed last session. Of course, we got cut off at the knees when COVID happened, and all legislation kind of stopped for a while. And it's a bipartisan bill. I filed it together with Rep. Dave DeCoste, who's a Republican, and me as a Democrat. We both decided that it was important for our communities, and this would set it up to be optional, so you wouldn't have to do a home rule petition. But the reality is, if you'd like to do this, and this is probably an appropriate time, a lot of seniors are struggling with the added taxes because of the high school and whatever. You could do it faster as a home rule petition. I know I had a couple for city council, and almost nothing made it through the House because of the shutdown last year. But hopefully this would go a little smoother this time. All the variables in this, and it's designed to be variables so that you can tailor it to the demographics of the senior citizens in Attleboro, and you can also tailor it to the ability of Attleboro as to how much revenue you can afford to forego. So the first option that Councillor Kobus mentioned is the choice whether you're going to freeze the actual tax dollars or the value of the house. In Attleboro, the houses are prices that I can talk, and I'm just on the meeting for the first couple of minutes, and I already can't talk. The value of houses is going up quite rapidly, so it might be sufficient just to do it by freezing the values of everybody's houses. Freezing the tax dollars, people would still pay the increase in the tax rate, just the value of their house would stay the same. Freezing the actual tax dollars would mean giving up more revenue. The other choices are you can change. So I think the numbers that are in it right now, the way you read it, Tara did, it's just a random numbers that we chose. So I think it says 65 years old. So if it says 65 years old, if you change that to 80 years old, there's going to be a whole lot less people who can take advantage of this. So you won't have to give up as much revenue. And that might be appropriate. Maybe that's where the balance of the people who live in Attleboro are. And you can also change how long they've lived in the house and the value of the house. You might change, I don't know, I'm looking at it, but I don't remember what we put in for a number, but it was just a random number. The value of houses is going up pretty quickly right now, so maybe a higher number, but you change all of those to fit what you think the senior citizens in Attleboro have, what their age is, what will fit them best, and what will match Attleboro's ability to give up that revenue.
Perfect. Thank you, Representative Hawkins. And appreciate the hard work on this. And so, like I said, we'll have more of a discussion.
The other part you asked
okay,
me about,
go ahead.
I forgot because I didn't write notes. If I write notes, I read my notes instead of looking at the camera. The other thing you asked me about was the process. So if City Council decides to do this, you would give it to me next. And I would take it up to the State House, and it goes through committees in the House and then the Senate, and then the governor signs it, and then you're able to just enact this freeze.
Perfect. Thank you. So, like I said, in 2 weeks, we'll have a more robust discussion after we've had time to review the text. But are there any initial questions or any specific things you'd like for me to add to my list of questions for the assessor? I'll recognize Councilor DeSimone first.
Thank you, Council Kobus. I know I'm not in the committee, but that document that you speak of, was that sent to committee members only? Because I, for the life of me, can't find it.
I did.
Okay.
I'll reach out to Virginia and have it shared to the full council. It is still very much in draft form.
Okay.
Just recognize that. But
I think your numbers are there might be a value to staying with that wording because that's already been through House Council in that form. It's already been approved that way. Might be the numbers are just random. That's your choice.
Thank you.
Councilor DeLucia.
Thank you. State Rep Hawkins, thank you for all the work you and Tara have been doing on this. My question is really kind of, do we have any other similar municipalities that are doing similar in terms of demographic that are doing something similar? I think playing with the numbers is interesting, but at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we're doing the responsible thing for these residents who, it's so important to remember that a lot of the residents who were in their homes, they bought their homes when they were a value of $25,000 and now they're a value of $625,000. So it's quite the discrepancy. So we want to make sure that we're helping those who really need it the most.
Councilor Conti or Representative Hawkins, are you aware of other communities?
No, Representative DaCosta's in Norwell who filed it with me, but I don't think they've done it in Norwell. I could find out. I think some have. I'd have to find out. I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Well, the
Councilor
first place to look is Wakefield. Assessor Santiago has introduced a home rule petition there that you might want to take a look at, and he was way ahead of the curve. So he's also assessor in the second community, and I believe that second community has done the same thing. So there's like 5 communities that I'm aware of in Massachusetts that have had an application for a home rule based on what Sant'Angelo has done in Wakefield. And that concludes my comments, Councilor Purvis.
Thank you, Councilor Conti. Anybody else? Councilor Delizio.
Just through the chair to Councilor Conti, if I may, are you talking Wakefield, Rhode Island or Wakefield, Massachusetts?
It's Wakefield, Massachusetts.
I just want to be sure. Thank you.
All right. Hearing none. Thank you, Representative Hawkins, for joining us. I appreciate it. And thank you for all your work. I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned at 8:22. Thank you.
I'd like to call Public Works Committee to order at 8:22. I just have one item of business this evening from the docket of March 2nd, 2021. I entertain a motion to transfer $1,500 from account 112410-578-300 Citywide Reserved Fund for transfer to account 14201000-553020 Public Works Supplies Safety Signs for a solar LED intersection ahead sign for Augsburg Drive.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. So Augsburg Drive residents have been having a problem being able to pull out of their street onto Slater Street. Does everybody know where Augsburg Drive is? I know that Diana Holmes does. But does everybody know where Augsburg Drive is off of Slater Street? I just want to make sure you're all aware. So if you're coming from Norton, from the Norton side, and you come around and there's like this little hill in Augsburg Drive, when you try to come out, you can't see real well the cars that are coming over that hill if you want to pull out of that street to take a left or a right. So over the years, we have put in different signs, slow down. We've put in just recently, not that long ago, was one of those mirrors, one of those big convex mirrors. They put those in. So they've tried everything. So I know this was before the Traffic Study Commission with Councilor DeSimone. Before that, it was Councilor Parica, perhaps even before that, probably. And finally, with the blessing of the mayor, we are being granted $1,500 to install this flashing light, and hopefully it will help the drivers that are coming from the Norton side into the Attleboro side and the drivers coming out of Augsburg Drive. So I hope you will all support this particular flashing light. Any comments, questions? Councilor DeSimone.
Thank you, Vice President Jackson. Very quickly, I want to thank former Vice President Parica for bringing this forward. And as I said, it's sat too long. I'm glad it's finally before us. I thank the Traffic Study Commission for supporting it, and the mayor and Mike Tyler, who made this happen. Once the traffic study recommended it, it's happening pretty quickly. So I thank them all for that. And I too support it. I was just over in that neighborhood the other day, and that's a tricky little road there, tricky little part of the road.
Yes,
Thank
it
you.
is. You're welcome. Councilor Conti.
Thank you, Councilor Jackson. So this is the second installation where it's very badly needed. And the first installation took me 6 years to get installed at Reed Street and Lower County Street, which is a very similar situation where you have people coming up over a hill and suddenly there's an intersection there, and no warning if you forgot that the intersection there, it's the first time you're coming down. So that has proven to be a wonderful addition to that intersection, because I was asked to put that sign up due to a death of a T-bone accident at that intersection. A beautiful woman met her untimely death there. And the same thing could happen at Augsburg Drive. And I hope that we can get this up before that happens, because since we've installed that sign on Lower County Street, there have been no intersection accidents at Reed Street and County. So we know this works, and thank you for bringing it out. I hope the council will get behind it and support it. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Councilor Conti. Councilor DeSimone.
I'm sorry, Vice President Jackson. I want to give a tip of the hat to Councilor Holmes, who, as I said last week, 2 weeks ago, brought it to my attention that this was pending for too long. So thank you, Councilor Holmes.
Thank you. Councilor Holmes.
Thank you, Vice President Jackson. This is the best news I've received all day, to be honest with you. Yes, I grew up on Augsburg Drive, and it's just really needed over there. And I don't know if the council remembers that somebody came forward to speak about this. They live in the street, and there was actually a pretty severe car accident in that family in Norton. And so I do think that it's important that this just gets addressed. So they were very concerned about the fact that Slater Street is just so much more traveled than it was 10, 15 years ago. It's so built up over there. It used to just not hardly any cars. Now it's a main road. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Holmes. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. That concludes the business for Public Works Committee. I'd like to ask for an adjournment. I guess I gotta look. At 8:27. Do I have a second? Thank you. We have a second. We are adjourned at 8:27. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'd like to call Budget and Appropriations Order at 8:27 PM. I have one piece of business from the docket of March 2nd, 2021. I entertain a motion to authorize the school department to pay a bill from GovConnection in the amount of $93.06 that was not received in time to be processed in the normal fiscal 20 business cycle.
Second.
Do you mind just taking quick minutes for me, please?
Got it.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, just as we've been doing, of course, we're seeing more of these this year than we have in years past, due large part to the pandemic. So this was just a fiscal obligation from fiscal 20 that wasn't received in time to be processed in the normal fiscal 20 business cycle. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. And just a real quick update. We know budget's going to be coming sooner than later. I had a good chat with Deb Gould today. I'm really excited to meet with her a little further this week and maybe next. And, you know, it's getting to that time. So let's get ready to see where we're coming in with the budget. So that is all I have, and we'll look for an adjournment at 8:28.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned at 8:28.
I'd like to call zoning and land use to order at 8:28. We have two motions tonight. Let's see. The first one here from the docket of November 17th, 2020, I entertain a motion to approve the zoning petition received from Atlantic Golf Centers regarding 754 Newport Ave, also known as Assessor's Plat number 69 and lot number 26B, to change the zoning of the 39.21 acres of general business and general residence A.
Second.
Motion's in order. We had the public hearing for this on a few weeks ago. I have this down as December 15th, but I don't think that's quite right. But anyway, so we've had quite a bit of discussion about this. I feel this is good for South Attleboro. it has the unanimous support of the planning board, the support of Gary Reagan. I understand the traffic concerns, but if this were to go in, there would be a traffic light put in place. So I encourage folks to be supportive of this. I think the combination of apartments and small business will be good for South Attleboro and far better than some of the alternatives I've heard thrown around, whether it's a supermarket going in there or 40B housing or whatnot. I think this is a great thing for South Attleboro, and I encourage people to support it. Any other comments? Councilor Blair.
I've been assured by the lawyer representing them that they're going to take care of the traffic situation entering that commercial development. It'll only be entered and exited by the stoplight. Is that correct?
That's my understanding as well. But again, this is only for a zoning change. Those sort of things will need to go before the zoning board and all that. Yep. Excuse me. Yes.
Changed.
Yep.
Right. But with the assurance, I would feel comfortable with it, and I agree with you. But be nice if we could get that right or something.
I can reach out to him. President Cooper.
So I wasn't going to say much, but I to Peter's point, into your comments on there would be a light. That was in the plan as an option, but to my knowledge, it's not approved by Mass DOT to put a light there.
Agreed. Correct.
So when you say there would be a light there may be a light there, right? I think in this situation, words are important because
fair enough.
I think the saying there could be a supermarket, that could happen today, right? That could happen today. And there could be someone come forward on a 40B, but I don't like to be sort of threatened or insinuated that it's going to be a 40B. I don't like that mentality at all. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about rezoning and putting 350-ish and a mixed use there that will have a traffic impact. So I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I was clear a couple weeks ago on where I thought I was. I think that it's pretty dense. I think the zoning board will have something to say about the density, or I'm hopeful that they will. And so, I think that I just want to be careful about sort of what we're saying around the traffic issues in that area, because to my knowledge, nothing's been approved or even asked at this point. It's been asked of Mass DOT, what do you think this would look like, or we'd like to do this, but there was no firm commitment on the location, how many ins and outs. That was all proposed, to my knowledge.
Understood. And President Cooper, it's my understanding that there will be many more chances for the Zoning Board of Appeals to review this, planning board to review the actual development and all of that, and to impose requirements there.
For sure.
Councilor Reynolds.
You muted, Sarah.
Sarah, you're muted.
I see it. I always see it after everybody says, Sarah, you're muted. So I've had a lot of conversations with people down here because I always like to present the pros and cons. And of course, the cons are the traffic, and that's what most people are concerned about. I've probably fielded 30 phone calls just in the last 2 weeks, even after all this happened. We had the public hearing on it. And you end up speaking to people at length and telling them the truth. The bottom line is something will go there. And so you have to make some decisions about what really does South Attleboro need? Does it need more retail? totally retail. Do we have apartments down here? No, we do not. Can it be left as open land? No, it's private property. The gentleman wants to sell it. He has a right to sell it and make the most amount of money that he would like. And I have explained in great detail that this will go on to other people. It's not just up to the city council. It does go through us, but it also goes through zoning. It went through planning. It will go to the state for traffic. And as far as I can see, they mess up some of the traffic, but they do put in lights. So I am hopeful that a light will go there, and that if that light is approved, that it will slow down the traffic that will then carry itself over to the four-way intersection up there. So I try to explain to people that something is going there. I've had people call me even after the public hearing that thought 900 apartments were going in there. So there is information out there also that's a little faulty. But I ask all of you, like I ask everybody I speak to, think about it, give it a lot of thought, because something is going there. And these are the options. So it's not like you can just make it an open park for, open land. People ask me, why can't it just be open land? Well, because somebody owns it and they want to sell it. So I think you have to keep explaining these things sometimes, because not everyone knows the process. We're here, we see it, we understand it a little bit more, but you just have to keep having these conversations and make sure they understand the cons as well as the pros to this type of development. And those are my comments.
Thank you, Councilor Reynolds. I couldn't agree more. Anybody else? Councilor Holmes.
I was going to say the same thing. I think that was well said, Councilor Reynolds. Thank you. And sometimes when we turn down something else comes along that we really didn't want. And so we have somebody that is willing to make this area nice, and they still have to go through, like we're saying, there's a huge process that they have to go through. But I missed something that President Cooper said. He said something like 43B or something. What if you could just clarify that, Todd? Or do you...
I'll let President Cooper clarify if you'd like. President Cooper?
Or 40B or
40B.
Yes, so you mentioned it, Council Cobus.
I did. Thank you.
But I don't know what.
So 40A is the general subdivision rules of the Commonwealth. 40B is there's some exceptions. Attleboro is at about a 7.5, call it, percentage of affordable units in the city. We range from about 7.25% to 7.75%. Right now, we're at about 7.5-ish%. If you're at a number less than 10, you're considered that you need more affordable housing. As you get closer to 10%, you're working toward an affordable environment. The requirements around 40B development are a little different than for traditional sort of development. Zoning rules are different, the timelines are different, the amount of units you can put are different. Generally, they don't do the entire development as affordable. They do a piece of it, and it's got to be 25, I believe it's about 25% at least has to be affordable. And so there are times when, and I don't like this approach from developers, but there are times when over the course of nearly 20 years of serving on different boards in this city that I've heard, well, if we don't get this approved, we're going to do 40B. Okay, well then do 40B. But that doesn't mean it gets approved. There's no, it's a different appeals process. You go through it's called, the initials HAP, Housing Appeals something. That is the P, I forget what it is off the top of my head, but where that appeal is heard by that entity and not through the court like a normal appeal of your decision. Just because you propose a 40B doesn't mean it's a slam dunk and you're going to get what you want. That also goes through a quicker, but still goes through a zoning board of appeals review and has to meet the merits of a subdivision, stormwater, traffic, hydrant testing, all of the things that have to happen for a residential subdivision or a regular subdivision that you could do on the land has to happen for a 40B development. So I hope that
Thank you.
clarified your questions. And you know, I get annoyed when it's sort of that twist is thrown in. Well, if you don't let us do this, we'll do a 40B, and you have to approve it. Well, the city doesn't have to approve a 40B. Just the rules are a bit different, and the 40B units can't look any different. I can name a few 40B developments in the city that you wouldn't know were 40B developments because the units don't look any different. You can't make everyone green and the affordable units purple in a development. It doesn't work like that. They all look the same. It's price driven or affordability.
Perfect. Thank you, President Cooper. Any other comments? Councilor Dolan.
Thank you. So initially I was against this too. You know, if we keep it industrial business, you know, like Council Holmes says, we don't know what'll happen there. And I understand that there may be a light, so which clearly we would like a light because it would make things safer. It's not guaranteed, but I know that this project, like I know that they've signed a purchase and sale, and clearly we have to change the zoning if they want to go through with this. What I like about this project is they're going to use the footprint that's already cleared. You know, they're not going to clear cut any more trees. So, you know, I have concerns either way. I do have concerns about something bigger and worse going in there. So I'm still on the fence, but, you know, I do like that they're going to use a footprint that's already cleared and they're not going to cut down any more trees. And so, you know, with keeping it industrial could be a grocery store or something, you know, a Best Buy or whatever that's open for 12 hours a day or whatever. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dolan. Anybody else? Councilor Delicio.
Thank you. Great discussion here tonight, Councilor Cobus. Thank you for entertaining it. I think Councilor Reynolds really hit part of what my thought process is as well. Obviously, a couple weeks ago, I talked about the traffic concerns, and you know, when I spoke with, I spent probably 45 minutes about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago with Gary. Spent probably another half an hour with Jack Jacoby this weekend. Wealth of knowledge right there with those two gentlemen. But they said the same thing. It's in the plan, and you know, I mean, I know from experience, it doesn't necessarily mean the light's going to go in. We also have that shuttle bus, which will help to cut down on some of the automobile traffic going down to the T station. But I think, Sarah, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this is a private property, private owned property who can sell to who he wants. And we're not voting on a project. We're voting on the zoning change. But everything else has to be taken into consideration here. And there's a lot. This is one of those that I think, you know, I know for myself, at one point I'm like, yeah, right, this makes sense. And I'm like, maybe it doesn't make so much sense. But after speaking with Gary and Jack Jacoby, I'm feeling a lot better about it.
Excellent. Councilor DeSimone.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Cobus. I was particularly interested in hearing Councilor Reynolds' comments as the ward councilor and the person closely into.
Point of order. President
Yes, I'm
Cooper
sorry.
is the ward councilor.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Well, it's
President
in
Cooper.
both. Point of order, it's in both. It's on one side.
No, it isn't. The proper, who has the floor, Mr. Chairman?
President Cooper. Go ahead, President Cooper.
Thank you. The right, if you're heading towards Home Depot, the right-hand side of the road, or the Kia dealership is in Ward 1. The left-hand side of the road, or the Atlantic Golf Center, this entire property is in Ward 2.
I think, can I ask a question?
I think at
Allendale's mine.
At that road is where it splits, but the property is in 2. But it borders 1.
Yes.
My apologies, President
Councilor
Cooper.
DeSimone, go ahead.
My apologies, President Cooper. I was interested and appreciated both of your perspectives on the matter. Let me just say that. Although I always reserve the right to change my mind. I'm in support of this because I don't know that there are any better options. Look, I would like it to stay a park as well. It'd be a great walking park, hiking, et cetera, but that's not going to happen. So I'm in support of bringing more people into the community, more people who will frequent our stores and the other attractions that we have. So barring any change between now and the vote, I support it. I think it's the right choice and the best choice. I also think when we look at the comprehensive plan, that is in line with what's set forth there and meets all of the parameters, if you will, of a rezoning question. So thank you, Council Copus.
Perfect.
Council Copus.
Any other comments? Hearing none, vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes, and we can move on. And Councilor Delicio, were you taking good notes?
Yeah, I got some
Perfect.
carpal tunnel going on right now.
All right. And so moving on, the next item we have here from the docket of June 16th, 2020, I entertain a motion to approve the proposed amendments to section 17-13 Water Resource Protection District of the Attleboro zoning ordinance.
Second.
Motions in order. So with this, we had the public hearing and we heard the joint public hearing, excuse me. And we heard from Gary Reagan, the city planner, as far as the history of the Water Resource Protection District, the goals that we were initially trying to accomplish with these changes, which were to speed up the process, it make it a little bit easier for developers that were having to jump through hoops to sort of apply for permits and whatnot. The initial request was to remove one or both of these water resource protection districts. This change achieves the goals that we heard from Gary, that this change achieves the goals that we're trying to achieve while also still protecting our water resources here within the city, which I think is incredibly important. It has the support of Gary Reagan. It has the support of the planning board. They voted on it last night unanimously. So I encourage folks to also be supportive of this. Any comments? Councilor Reynolds.
I'm going to be really brief here, but this was something that I pushed for a while, and it came out quite some time ago, 8 years ago, and it was ignored. And I want to say that I am appreciative to Gary, who at first was extremely opposed to this and took some time, looked at it, really spent a lot of time with the planning board, and they came up with a solution that is really beneficial to both sides, and especially to the builder there that had 20 plus lots, almost 30 lots, and it was just going to go downhill with some of the delays and the length of time it took to get these permits for something that actually is all right to put there. So I give a lot of kudos that it finally happened and that Gary and the planning board found their way through this. And I think it's important that we move it forward. And thank you, Todd. I know I was on your case for quite some time. So
of course. Thank you, Councilor Reynolds. Any other comments? President Cooper.
Thank you. So thank you to both of you for bringing this over the finish line. I know that Sarah and I have been talking about this for a long time, and I appreciate this change. And I think we, wait to see if these changes have an impact to those that most affected, and then we reevaluate if we need to. But I appreciate the sort of what I'll coin the administrative review of this. And I think that it's important to protect these areas, but I think that protection can be done in a different way. And so to both of you and to the planning department, thank you for making it happen.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? All right, motion passes 3-0. So that concludes the business of the Zoning and Land Use Committee. Move to adjourn at 8:50.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 8:50. Thank you.
I'd like to call the License Committee to order at 8:50. I have one item this evening from the docket of February 2nd, 2021. I entertain a motion to approve the Class 2 license application for Matthew Borgelas, DBA New England Autos, Inc. at 71 County Street with 6 customer spaces and 40 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you. Everybody probably remembers the public hearing. They go on across Cumberland Farms on County Street. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. That's all the business I have tonight. I'd like to call for an adjournment at 8:51.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
I'd like to call the City Property and Claims Committee to order at 8:51, and I have 3 motions this evening. From the docket of March 2nd, 2021, I entertain a motion to approve the transfer of $5,422 from account 116210000-511550 elections salaries to account 116210000-542020 elections supplies, election equipment to purchase a 6-4 station voting booths.
Second.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and certainly the election department needs these things. So my feeling is that it's something we should say yes to. So if anyone has any further questions or concerns, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you. From the docket of March 2nd, 2021, I entertain a motion to accept these anonymous donations to the Veterans Service Office of a $50.88 gift card to the Breakfast Place and a $28.08 gift certificate to Bliss Brothers Dairy.
Second.
Thank you. Again, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, always appreciated. Any questions or concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes. And from the docket of March 2nd, 2021, I entertain a motion to accept the donations of $3,000 in gift cards to various venues from Home Instead Senior Care and of $150 in Stop and Shop gift cards from the Holiday Spirit Committee, all to the Council on Aging.
Second.
Thank you. Again, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Wonderful the amount some of these people and businesses donated in gift cards. And if anyone has no further questions or concerns, anyone? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes. And those are the 3 motions that I have, all the business for City Property and Claims Committee. I would like to call for an adjournment.
Second.
Thank you. And so I would like to adjourn at 8:53. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:53.
I'd like to call Ordinance, Elections, and Legislative Matters Committee to order at 8:53. I'm only going to give a brief update. I sent an email out, and then there's some emails going out from the city solicitor about some amendments. So the hope is that March 9th, I will be bringing out Ordinance 10-4.18 regarding speed humps, speed cushions. I'm hoping to bring out the proposed amendments to section 16-15.6, building sewers and connections, and the proposed amendments to section 16-10 through 16-14, which is related to water. So those will be coming out, those 3 will be coming out March 9th. And then March 23rd, I also have forwarded some information from the city solicitor related to some amendments on the amendments to section 7 related to the Attleboro having the environmental ordinance changes basically. And that will be March 23rd. That way everyone has a little bit of a timeline. Councilor Conti?
So Councilor Holmes, I opened up those documents this afternoon and tried to read them, and I couldn't see where the city solicitor had made her comments. I think when they got converted into PDFs, the tracking got lost. Would you just check into that for me, please?
I definitely will. And that's my hope, is that I wanted to give everyone this timeline and make sure that we had all the information to have the committee discussion, and then just be prepared for the full council as well. So I will definitely look into that. Thank you. Councilor Reynolds?
Just so I can add to that, at first I didn't see her comments either, but over to the right of the attachment that she sent were things in red that were from her. And if you hit on them, it said exactly what she was talking about within the document.
Thank you, Councilor Reynolds. I
If you
stand
just
corrected.
click on them.
So that's the hope, is that we can kind of bring out things in the next couple of weeks and just have all the information to be prepared for the discussion. Any other comments or questions? Councilor DeSimone?
Chair Holmes, first of all, I apologize. I had intended the amendments that the president sent out earlier. I had intended to introduce those as new business, but then the president made a good point. He's like, they're pending matters. They'd probably be better suited to being amendments. So I apologize for not sending those to you earlier, but I didn't think of it. But do you want me to read these now, or let you and the other councilors check them over and then discuss them at the next committee hearing? Or do you want me to explain my thinking or anything?
You can I don't know if you would want to read them, because I'm not bringing it out right now, but now that everybody has them and the meeting just happened, they can certainly review them. But if you would like to discuss it, you certainly can. I'm open to that.
I can explain it in 5 words. 10 years is too long. That's the motivation for this. It would require that these fee increases or changes be brought forward on a more regular and systematic basis with all the information I think we need to fairly evaluate them. It asks the directors of both water and wastewater to prepare reports and to make those reports to this council so that we can more appropriately, in a more timely fashion, make these decisions. That's my basis. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Of course, that sounds great. So everybody received that a couple hours before council committee tonight, and then the information from the city solicitor, and we'll just be kind of prepared, I guess, for the March 9th date. I will call for an adjournment.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:57. Thank you.
I think that concludes this evening's.
Got a wrap.
Woohoo, it is a wrap. Good night.
Good night.
Councilor Cooper, I need to hear from you tomorrow. Would you please make a note to either Zoom me or FaceTime me anytime you're available? I'm available all day, but I need to have a personal conversation with you.
Okay. Do you want me to call you now?
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll FaceTime you right now.
No time like the present. Thank you.
Bye.